Hey, I'm Brian.
I'm Robin.
And welcome back to our series on film races. Today we'll be talking about editing, putting it all together. The first question is, what kind of editing software should you use? And we've gone through, as a company, AVID, we've gone through Final Cut, and really it's just what fits our needs at the particular time. We use the Adobe Creative Cloud series, so that's Premiere Pro. For us, Adobe's been kind of like the solid workhorse to get things done. Our post-production workflow for a film race is not too different from a regular film shoot or even from our professional work. It's just a lot faster and compressed.
I kind of, get everything ingested and do a lot of the rough cut and just matching it to script as much as possible. And then once we kind of have that in place, we pass it back and forth. Like with Capsule, I got it started and then I kind of handed it off to you. You started fine cutting it. At one point you said, okay, you go do sound design, and I took back a version of it. It's kind of like a game of catch.
Part of the editing process is making sure you have footage to edit, i.e. making sure that your footage is not erased or corrupted. So, on set, whoever your DIT person is, make sure that they're getting it, captured, at lunch, and then making sure they back it up right away. Just making sure your footage is secure. It's just basic practices, but really comes into play in a film race because so much can go wrong with lack of sleep. So making sure that your efforts are not lost by accident. Yeah, how good you capture footage and sync footage is gonna make the rest of your, X amount of hours of work much, much easier. So I know that when I hand the footage to Robin after a shoot day, it's, we've already agreed to naming conventions and kind of what kind of our project setting is gonna look like. Are we gonna master in 4K or in 1080 and questions like that. So then we're off running because you don't need any extra problems cropping up. The movie you thought you were gonna make is not gonna be the movie you end up making, but starting from script and saying, here's what we envisioned, plug and play scenes and shots into place. Here's what we wrote, now let's fix it. Sophia is one of my favorite examples of us really learning to work together as an editing team. We cut it together to script and it was 2.5 minutes. And we're like, this is really short. This is like a trailer, what happened? Page count to final length of the movie just didn't work. It was the pages went really fast.
Well, and there were pieces that didn't make sense.
Yes.
That they made sense on the page, but for whatever reason, seeing them visually, it didn't work.
So it was 1 a.m. and we had a cut, but it was only 2.5 minutes. We kind of broke the film apart, kind of put some things out of order and kind of built some more suspense along the way to really give people time to fully ingest and get the story, understand the story.
It is a really good idea to have someone who is in the role of a script supervisor or someone who is taking notes pretty actively on set to make sure that they know what's being said, time of day, which take number, which, if there were changes in the setup, that sort of thing. That ends up really being incredibly helpful for the editing side because then it allows the editor to say, wait, there was one that was really good, what was that? And then you have the whole list, and that way that can actually save you a ton of time, and you never know when all of that information may end up being really important.
It provides a good place to start too, because even though I direct the piece, knowing what I said, that's it on set, I'll just start with those selects, and then you can adjust as you go from there.
This kind of thing is just as relevant on a feature film because you may have more time, but you also have a lot more media. You have days of production, you have
Months
days.
of production.
Yeah, so it's you have somebody who's there making all of those same notes for double, triple, quadruple the amount of material. So it's a really good exercise in learning these skills and these practices for something, down the road. I think a lot of people when they come into film races have a tendency to think very much about the shoot and the production part of it and the cameras and everything, and it's the editing side is so important.
We'll see the footage and be like, what is this? This is nothing right now, because it isn't, it's just a bunch of footage. And the most recent example is Capsule. Great shoot, really, really well put together, but then getting the edit, it's just, a woman sitting on a chair, but it's, it's not color graded, there's no sound design, and you have to get to that point where you're okay, I think we're getting there. Once everything kind of got added in, that's when it's okay, cool, let's do this. Some things you can find other people to do while you're editing, just have it ready. Sound design, looking for sound files. Music, if you're looking for royalty-free music or already re-recorded music, you can find that and have that ready to go. Hey, here's a few samples. Or if you're even composing music, that can be done at that time. Credits is a good thing to pass off. Someone can even just type up that document, however you do crawls or cards, just have those ready to go, because you know, in the 11th hour, that's when you're like, oh yeah, our credits, and then you can just drop them in and go. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and that way you can see everything that's coming up as we continue this film race series.